At first glance, this game looks like a fun and cute animated game with charming characters, but we learn it is developed by Cat Trigger, the same dev that made Bad Faith, so we are in for a deeply unsettling nightmare. If you haven't watched Bad Faith already, you can do so by clicking on the link in the description. The story begins with the protagonist, Sheep, being embraced by a cow in a lush field. Sheep seems happy, in a safe space with the person that they trust. However, the scene quickly changes to an ominous deep fog just to show the drastic contrast of the environment. Sheep is worried about his mother. She has been gone for a while and only her tracks are left behind in this deep fog. She said that she will be back soon, but it has been so long for little Sheep to just leave it to luck. As he follows her tracks, something troubling appears. A signboard of a place called J.T. Kirk's Leather Works, a place that specializes in skins, hides, manufacturing, and more. A place of terror in the perspective of the victims that this kind of place uses as products. Victims such as sheep and cow. As he goes deeper into the forest, she finds a trail of blood. That's when she sees the silhouette of a mother sheep being alongside an obscured figure of what seems to be a human with a fedora who uses terrifying large shears and ends the life of the mother sheep. This horrifying scene is quickly followed with a distraught sheep being in a kitchen who is holding his eyes in terror, having dropped a plate by mistake, being the same protagonist. This reveals that this was a terrible memory that has scarred the protagonist and stayed with him till now, having left a massive toll on him. The chicken staff member within the kitchen slaps the sheep for breaking the plate when the cow comes in, intervening and defending the sheep. It is unveiled that they all work in a restaurant now, serving customers. The cow is a dear friend to the sheep who connect to each other and understand each other as their backstories are similar. They both had been victims of the violence in the world. This is clear from the cow missing an arm, depicting how he has been subjected to violence in the past. The sheep seems to be a prime prey and defenseless. Even the chicken within the restaurant seems to bully him. The chicken even threatens him that if he messes up again and doesn't do good, he will be served as meat to the customers. Looking outside of the window of the door into the restaurant's hall, we understand that this isn't a simple joke, but an insensitive threat. The customers within the restaurant have a taste for meat, and they are natural predators to the staff within the restaurant. The customers seem to be wolves, and the waiter is a pig, and the kitchen staff are a fish, a chicken, a cow, and the protagonist, a sheep. The meal served to the wolves by the pig waiter is venison, being deer's meat. Going to the freezer room to get a broom to clean up the broken plate, we see something unsettling. A text appears which is a representation of the sheep's internal thoughts, mentioning how the sheep feels bad for the deer whose belongings are packed inside the box in the freezer room. What could that potentially mean? Did the restaurant lure the deer in and serve it as meat to the customers? Do they actively hunt down the likes of themselves to keep the restaurant running? Or was the deer an employee who messed up and ended up as meat on the tables? The story already depicts a dark and twisted universe of the game where the preys need to serve predators and the ones who eat them. It seems to be some sort of metaphor of the real world, how certain authority use and abuse the lower class people who do not have as much money or authority. And interestingly, the people of lower class do not fight or resist, but instead, they have accepted their role and fate and work for these predators and serve their own kind just to survive. As the ship goes further into the freezer room, we find a remnant of the deer who is suspended on a meat hook, displaying the horror, acting as a reminder of what could happen to all the employees. Even deeper, we uncover something ominous, that all the employees seem to be faced with an inevitable end, to all end up like the deer at some point. All the employees have their belongings in the freezer room and they seem to be stuck in the kitchen and forced to serve themselves to the hungry customers. That explains the terrifying stare of the wolves looking directly at the sheep. They were fantasizing about their next meal being mutton or lamb. In fact, the deer was an employee and his time was up as a servant to now be fed to the hungry wolves outside. His apron is hooked within the freezer room, a tragic belonging of how he was forced to work here until his time was up. After getting the broom and cleaning up the broken plate, he speaks to the fish who is stuck inside a bowl, restricting its movement. That's when we realize that the fish served in a brutal war and now has severe PTSD as he keeps pulling out a pistol. He unveils that he has love for an individual, a jellyfish, which expands more on the deep untold backstory of the game. Going to check on his belongings inside the freezer room, we find a photo of him in the battlefield with a writing on the back addressed to his jellyfish girlfriend, saying how he wishes that he could go back soon and see her. Within the kitchen, the chicken seems panicked and uneasy. She is fixated on what she sees outside the window, and using binoculars, she uncovers the horrifying fate that she has to face. The wolves on the table are getting ready to order roasted chicken now. The pig waiter turns his gaze to the chicken, and just on that note, the chicken panics and tries to jump out of the tall building. But the pig catches her and butchers her to serve her as the next meal for the wolves. The sheep is horrified watching all of this happening right in front of his eyes. Now being clear that all these employees are prisoners here, trapped, serving their own killers, just waiting to face their inevitable demise, with the clock ticking loudly. This horrifying scene makes the sheep have a nervous breakdown, who goes deeply into thoughts of what happened in the foggy day after his mother was butchered. The obscured figure quickly changes its focus to the sheep and chases after it in an intense manner to kill him too, seemingly to use its skin and fur. Just as the sheep is running and hides behind certain elements of the nature, we see a sneaky insert of a criticism to religion, a pun and a smart play on words on how Jesus saves. But divinity isn't here to perform a miracle and save a vulnerable victim, the sheep. It is a coupon with 10% discount. The sheep then runs into a barn where he finds a piece of paper. On it, we read how this man chasing after the sheep is selfish and has complete disregard to life. He is simply trying to kill the sheep and make a new coat for his wife. He simply dismisses the life he just took, saying that the mother sheep was large and coat will be too loose. So now he wants to kill the protagonist to make a tighter coat for the wife. While trying to find a way to run away from this monstrous man, the sheep finds a recruitment paper on a restaurant needing new staff, which promises fair pay and room until the rest of their lives, being a place called Wolf Industries. So now we learn how the sheep ended up as a staff in the kitchen where he is kept as a prisoner to be served to the wolves. They lie to prey animals and lure them into the kitchen where they would be truly offered a room until the rest of their lives, which will be very short. They are kept there as food to be served to the rich wolf customers. So maybe it was this horrible outside world, the reality of the violence that the prey animals face, that convinced them to join the horrible restaurant for safety. Back in the kitchen, the sheep sees the roasted chicken now being served to the greedy and gluttonous wolves. Back to the memories, we learn how the sheep met the cow. The cow actually saved his life after the sheep jumped into a lake, running away from this obscured man. The cow introduces himself and the sheep confides in him the terrible experience that he just had and cries that he lost his mother to this obscured man. The cow empathizes with him, saying how he also lost his mother and that they are both the same, having experienced the same horrible things, and that they are better and stronger together against this violent man. Unfortunately, the cow's mother was butchered as well, to be served as a burger. The cow then asks the sheep to go and look for wood so that they can start a fire and keep warm. As the sheep is away, he sees the obscured man is talking to the cow, asking for the sheep's whereabouts, but he refuses to answer and pretends that he doesn't know, essentially saving the sheep's life again, displaying that he can be an honest friend. Back in the kitchen, we see the wolves still having a large appetite, and this time they ask for fish. The pig goes to the kitchen and butchers the fish, serving him next as the meal. Someone who survived the war against predators and was hopeful to reunite with his girlfriend, but unfortunately the cruel world has different plans for him. The war seems to have been between prey and predators, but apparently predators won, and now the prey are being actively hunted. The sheep and the cow realize just waiting around won't solve anything, and the greedy, insatiable wolves will never stop demanding more and more. So they prepare to fight off the pig, who acts as the metal man, butchering the animals and serving them as meals. That's when the wolves ask for lamb chops. The sheep starts panicking, but the cow promises to keep him safe. As the pig comes, the cow throws the sheep into the freezer room and tells him to lock himself in and hide. As the pig asks for the sheep, the cow denies to know where it is, when we discover a horrible fact, that the wolves didn't only ask for lamb chops, but they also wanted a burger. And based on that, the pig attacks the cow when we have a choice to intervene or run away. As the sheep intervenes, the pig easily knocks him out with one punch and finishes the job, killing the cow. And it doesn't make any difference whether he hit or fought. He then goes to serve the wolves with a burger. The wolves are furious, asking where their lamb chop is. The pig starts panicking, not knowing what to say, when the wolves threaten the pig that if he doesn't serve them what they ask for, they will eat the pig instead and demand pork. That's when the pig goes back to the kitchen and opens up to the sheep. He explains that this is a cruel world and it is whether to kill or be killed. And he has decided to shut himself in and kill as many prey animals as it takes so he can survive in a world full of carnivorous predators. He explains that he feels bad and sorry for all the animals, but there is nothing else that he can do. That's when the pig tries to calm the sheep, telling him to think of a better place. Imagine to be with someone that they love. And that's when the sheep sees the cow. In a surreal world, the sheep gets to interact with the deceased animals. First the chicken. She has a rotten attitude and blames everyone that if they didn't get in their way, she would survive. She displays a similar attitude to the pig. She is weak and wanted to work hard and even sacrifice other animals to survive, and even had unrealistic dreams of rising up in ranks to be alongside the wolves, sitting on the same velvet chairs and eating expensive food. This simply displays the delusions many have, trying to blend in with the evil and the bad just to survive in a terrible system. The story draws close parallels to the real world and how in history, many times many people sided with the enemy and the evil just to survive, even having unrealistic dreams and doing terrible things. It's as if saying a prey could only imagine serving a predator long enough, act as their servant and slave, so they can be accepted by them and have a similar position. This would simply never be a reality. Talking to the fish, he displays sorrow that he died in a kitchen rather than the battlefield alongside his brothers. Next is the deer, who reveals that he was still alive, being skinned and missing his eyes. He attacked the sheep in the freezer room because he thought that it is the pig, and he wanted to get revenge for what he did to him, breaking his trust. And finally, we see the obscured man and the cow and learn how he lost his arm. In order to defend the sheep and save him from this man, he fought him but lost his arm in return. However, they managed to overcome him, and the cow kills him. The cow says to the sheep that he found life with him, and protecting him was what gave him a drive. And he explains that one day, the sheep will have the strength for someone else to defend. On that note, the sheep is back in the current time, in the kitchen, faced against the pig. He fights him and manages to actually overcome him. There we have two options, to kill him or let him live. If we choose to kill him for all he had done and the terrible things that he will continue to do if he stays alive, the sheep has another option, to kill the wolves or simply run away. But choosing to kill the wolves, it ensures that they will not eat innocent animals anymore, sarcastically making a menu of a dish which serves wolf meat as steak. And eventually at the end, the sheep is seen to be transformed into a strong character, wearing the same hoodie that the cow wore. He is then standing on top of a terrified rabbit, which he helps and becomes the element of hope and a savior, as the cow told him that he will become one day. On the other hand, if we spare the life of the pig, he reveals his true evil nature and tries to kill the sheep, but he dies anyway, falling into the meat grinder. Also deciding not to kill the wolves, they call the operator of the restaurant and simply instruct them to spread more recruitment posters to get more animals. So it is best to put an end to their lives. And that is it for this video, folks. If you enjoyed it, make sure to stay tuned for more by hitting on the subscribe button and the notification bell. As always, it's been your host Star. Thanks for being here, and I will see you on the next one. Take care.